Hi everybody, and welcome to my channel today. I was going to have a completely different video, but I've decided to do it a little differently. I messed up on a thread. I wrote something that I didn't mean. I wrote it about stimming, and you know, I've learned along my journey that I really need to be careful. And I normally write things, overread, overthink before I send anything. Um, because I do have a communication disability, and I know by now that I need to be careful in how I um, word things. And there's been numerous times in my life where I have said, well, that's not what I meant. But when you put something in writing, it is a little different because, especially nowadays in social media, it's just out there. And um, you can say that's not what you meant, but I think differently because I have autism, and as everybody thinks the way that they think. And if I take a segment of my thought and I put it out there, then that's what you get. But it's not in its entirety. So I have to be careful in what I mean. So I was wrong in what I said, and people corrected me, which I apologized for, and they were very gracious and let up immediately and said, we all have messed up, and have learned along the way. I mean, you know, I'm older, and we didn't have the voice that everybody does now and the platforms. As an autistic, being raised the way I was, I mean, you just didn't have any kind of a platform. I think we were used to people defining us and telling us what was wrong with us, and we just kind of accepted it. Our silence and our lack of being able to communicate allowed us, I can only speak for me, to be quieter, just take what people said, or they didn't tell you what was going on with you, because autism wasn't that accepted back then, and you really didn't hear that much about it. So they pretty much just told you, like, I heard that I was probably not going to graduate high school. I heard that, and read later in diaries from my adopted mom, that these things were wrong and were going on with me, but nobody had a talk with me. Nobody sat down and said, this is what's going on with you. You have autism, and this is what it is. And I did get the diagnosis later, but it's so much bigger than that, because we knew from the moment, I mean, that I should have been speaking. We knew from the moment that I should have been learning in a school setting, even before that. But we knew that there was a lot going on. There was a lot wrong. And my kindergarten teacher was the one who went to my parents and said, there's something not right. So my journey went to a neuropsychologist, and it went from there. And there were so many diagnoses that fell under the umbrella of what they call autism. But back then, it was just, all these different smaller diagnoses for me. And I'm really glad that we were able to put it under the full umbrella of autism eventually, because then it all made sense to me. But we really didn't come from that kind of a generation. And I watch a lot of younger YouTubers now, and I just want to applaud them because they have a voice and a platform that we didn't have, didn't understand what autism is. I mean, I watch these people and they are able to tell you what it is, break it down. They're so intelligent. They've got this platform to, because this is Autism Awareness Month, which I keep hearing Autism Acceptance Month, and they are able to get it out there what's going on with them. I have been trying and fought doctors about myself and doctors about my three littles that I have right now to try to tell them, you're telling me what's wrong with them, but I know what's wrong with them. So they looked at me. That doesn't not mean that they don't have autism. They still have autism even though he looked at me. The definitions are so broad, but yet for some reason they, doctors and professionals and even teachers still to this day, uh, just lump it under certain characteristics that either you have autism or you don't, or this is how much of autism that you have. And I have another video that I'm working on what they have said is lower functioning autism and higher functioning autism, which is really interesting because autism is a spectrum within its abilities. Like my abilities are from A to Z under that spectrum of autism. But then each of those abilities have a spectrum too. And each of those days within those abilities, within that spectrum, have spectrums as well. Because I can have a great day, I can have a bad day, I can have a good 5 minutes, I can have the next moment a bad 5 minutes. And it really depends on everything that's going on around me, internally and externally. And you can't put a child in front of you or an adult and determine for sure exactly if that's how they're, how much autism somebody has, or if they do or don't, if for one particular moment in time, everything is just connecting in their brain and they had a great moment. And then you just say, oh, well, they looked at me, they talked to me, they played, I saw this, this, and this, so therefore no. And it's kind of hard for us as somebody who really does understand autism, and I look at it and I can see it in my kids. And they all three did get the diagnosis, but some faster than others. But it's frustrating when you as a parent, for sure that your child has autism, but they're saying no, you just know. Parents know when something's wrong or different with your child. And, I really applaud all of the YouTubers that are coming up. And I'm learning. I'm older. So, like I said, we didn't have the platforms, we didn't have the definitions or the terminology that people do today. And somebody had said to me, you had a puzzle piece somewhere on my Facebook or on a profile picture of me or something. And I'm like, I looked on my YouTube channel, I looked everywhere, I couldn't find a puzzle piece. But then I was like, well, a while ago, before I knew what Autism Speaks had done and what they were doing and how top heavy they were and how they really weren't for autistics. Before that, I did have a puzzle piece and I did light it up blue, but you have to understand, I was what I was told. And I kind of liken it to when you go to church and this is all you know. You have been raised in a church. You have been inundated with whatever belief systems those churches have. And that's what you believe. You just trust it as golden. That's it. And then you leave the church, or you get invited to another church, and it opens your eyes, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is completely different. Oh my, I didn't even know that these kind of beliefs existed. And your eyes are opened up, and you start seeing the world a little differently. And that's kind of what has happened to me as an old school autistic. And there are times, I got to be honest, I get on here and I really do. I learn, I try to watch as many younger YouTubers as I can because I want to learn from them, because I know that I've said things wrong or differently or out of context, not meaning to. And that's 100% true. Not meaning to at all. In no way, shape, or form do I want to offend anybody. Now, the topic was about stimming, and somebody said about stopping stimming. And what I was trying to say and didn't come out right was a little bit of my journey. And I just took it and I put what I've done. And I have a 4-year-old that stims. And when he's excited, he's excited. And in fact, I think what he does is just a part of who he is. And in no way, I don't want anybody to change that in him. I didn't mean that. And I don't want him to be in a school setting or in a future work environment or something. And if he's stimming, that's what he's doing. And I don't want anybody to tell him not to do that. As well as my 6-year-old, who, when I was taking her, we were touring different schools, and she went to one place and they said to me, are there any behaviors that you want for her to get rid of, like stimming? And I said, I don't want her to get rid of any behaviors that she needs to get through her day. So I need to be careful what I say, because it really, and I welcome anybody. And I had a lot of people talk to me about my comment, which I appreciated and I welcomed. And at first I was like, oh geez, maybe I shouldn't have a YouTube channel, because I don't know all the terminology. I don't know all the right ways of thinking today that I honestly I haven't been taught yet, and I'm trying to learn as much as I possibly can. But I was grateful to the people that came forward and told me, hey, and and I'm open to anybody on my channel, and hope that if somebody sees something differently or wants me to research or look into something more because I shouldn't have said it that way, hey, please, I would really appreciate you telling me that. And I want to continue doing my YouTube channel, because somebody that comes from an old school autistic also needs a voice too, raising 3 kids with autism. And see, that's another thing. I was always told, kids with autism, and now I'm hearing from the younger generation that just say it for what it is. Just say that it's autistic. Just say that you have a disability, and that's all great. Like I said, I don't want to offend anybody in their belief system. So I mean, it's a learning process, and all I could have said was, oops, at that. And I did. I went through and I apologized to everybody, and they were really great. Even though there were a couple that I did make upset, they immediately stopped. being upset and said, yeah, I mean, we've all made mistakes and we're all learning in this, and it really is a journey. And the thing that makes me the most mad as an autistic is that it is a spectrum, and that's why I call my channel Everything Spectrum, because I, along with 3 kids, live in this house, and every single one of us is different, and every single one of us can be different even in from day to day. None of us are the same. Like today is a really good example. We've been on spring break this week. Tomorrow we aren't. Tomorrow is a brand new day, and just the feel in the house of us getting ready to start everybody going back to routine is a big deal. It's a big deal for me. I'm walking around like I'm lost. The kids are walking around. You can feel the tension. Levi yesterday was crying like all day long. The stress level is up. So you can just feel it. And it just depends on the day, what you're going to get. And it always makes me upset, as I said earlier in the video, that people just don't recognize the spectrum within the spectrum within the spectrum. And that's probably the thing that makes me the most upset. And the definitions that people put on autistics who don't really know autism. And I am so glad that autistics are the ones now that are able to be on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and all these different platforms and tell the professionals that this is who we are. You know, what also makes me upset is that, like, the movie like Sia is a really good example of that. I mean, she went to Autism Speaks or whomever to be able to get the information about autistics, and she should have been going to people that are right here on these kind of platforms and ask us, well, let's talk autism, and have somebody with autism in that movie, because we have to act every single day. That's what we do. So we can make the best actors in order to make it in this world. So that's a real failure. I recently saw a show on HBO Max on Spectrum something, and I was like, oh, I'll give it a try. And within 5 minutes, I turned it off, because all it was cameras following autistics in a negative light. And so then movies like Sia's can be made. And it's just like, oh my gosh, we are being so misrepresented. There is no community that would be okay with cameras following their community and only painting a negative light. And I don't know why it's okay for that to happen with autistics. I'm not sure, but we are painted like Atypical, which is a very cute movie, and I kind of like him, to The Good Doctor, and I don't mind some, like the Atypical, as much as I really mind and it's Hollywoody for sure, but when they take and they follow true autistics, I mean, I wouldn't want somebody to come in here with cameras and give me a day in the life of my 3 kids and me, and only take the negatives, and that's what they put together to present the film, instead of taking somebody's positives and strengths and build on those and show how much we have to overcome in a single day. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that it could have been a completely different film. And then I would have been like, oh, okay. I mean, that was well done. But all they did was take these maybe 4 personalities, and they showed him in the most stereotypical autistic viewpoint of it, and presented that to make our community look so horrible. And I really think that movies, people that make the movies, people that make these documentaries need to stop doing that, because that isn't who we are. And some of those characteristics are true, but it's not who we are completely. And no one person represents every single autistic trait to the point where some of these documentaries try to portray. And it really makes me upset. I would love for them to follow somebody like me, or my kids, or some of these other younger YouTubers that are doing amazing, going to school, having relationships, being married, having kids like I have kids, um, and only show the what we've overcome and how strong we are. And that be what Autism Acceptance Month should be. And there needs to be more organizations, because Autism Speaks really screwed up their representation of what autism was about, and what they were supposed to be doing. So it's really sad that that happened, and shame on them. Shame on them. But I mean, in the past, if you Google me, you will see a lighted up blue in my past. You will see a puzzle piece in my past. I used to guest write for Autism Speaks as a voice for Autistics. Now, I mean, I thought about that, if I would ever write for them again, and I don't know. I don't think that I would ever write for them again. But I would write for any platform that got the word out about what true autism was. And so I just think that, you know, these organizations need to be more careful in how they represent us and how they truly help us. Well, as you heard, I'm not the only one in the house. So you heard somebody else talking in the background, and that's fine. But anyway, that's really all I have for today. I was going to do a lot more this week, but like I said, we've got spring break going on, and it's just ending. Routine has been off. I've got people working on my back patio, doing some electrical stuff, and it's just been a week of all kinds of stuff going on. So it's just been different. So the last video I was able to put out was like 8 days ago. So, but I'm really thankful and blessed that I was able to do this today. And thanks for teaching me along the way what's I need to learn being an autistic, being on YouTube. And feel free to correct me and tell me what you see that I could learn from. I really appreciate that. And like my kids always say, again, ready? Do it.
1, 2, 3, smash that like button.
And thanks for watching. Spread the word, and get it out if you feel led to, and let people know about my channel, and subscribe, and just pass it on. Comment. I'm getting a lot of likes. I'm getting new viewers all the time, but I'm not getting the comments. So there was like one video that people commented on, and that's really it. This is my 21st video, I think. So, I mean, I've got a long way to go. People have been doing this for years before they really get going. So, and I'm still learning, like I said. But I instead of not doing it, I've decided to do it for now and continue to learn. And this is when I always say, keep being you and keep moving forward. Thanks.